Welcome back to Careers and Coffee Talk. I'm your host, Laura. This is actually the second part of a two-episode series with Kelly Grissom. So if you haven't watched the first part, go and check that out in the feed and then come back here and check out part two. And then be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. All right, enough of that. Let's get into it. I want to tie a few things together because you talked about living in Hawaii. We've talked a bit about your military background. Names carry weight, right? Especially when you've been through some things. The name of your gym is KOA. I always wondered, I don't think I knew until I read this book where that name came from. But KOA is not just the name of your gym. It traces back to your time commanding Task Force KOA in Afghanistan. So for you, what exactly went into choosing a name for your gym?
That is all true. Let me just say that KOA is the battalion. So my battalion commander's call sign was
KOA.
KOA 6.
Okay.
And then in my unit we just use regular language. So for me I was my kind of moniker would be Fox, and then 6 is the commander.
Okay.
So the whole battalion was KOA. But it's hard for me to remember exactly how I picked a name for the school.
KOA means...
KOA in Hawaiian has a bunch of meanings. Brave, bold, warrior. So the Hawaiian language, a lot of the words have multiple meanings.
Yeah.
And KOA has many meanings. It's also a tree. It was a Marine Corps thing. It was the battalion call sign, but then it had these additional meanings that aligned to the idea of a martial arts school. It was a way to kind of pay homage to that part of my life, but also, just as important, my jiu-jitsu. I started here in Virginia with Chad, but I always say Hawaii is like my spiritual home. Like I should have been born there. My closest people I ever felt and the most comfortable of any place I lived during those times in my life anyway.
Yeah.
It was Hawaii. At the time that I opened this school, today it's Virginia, but back then it was Hawaii. And so it was a way to kind of
honor that.
Pull all of it together, in service, the idea behind a martial arts school, my jiu-jitsu connection to Hawaii. And so that's kind of how I arrived at the name. Today it would probably have a different name.
You think
so?
I
don't know what it would.
Yeah.
I have no idea what it would be, but it probably wouldn't be KOA. Those connections are not as strong as
they were then.
As they were then.
That makes sense.
But yeah, that's where it came from.
Yeah. For you, how did you start? So you started training. How did that evolve into opening your own gym?
I'm not sure. I think I may have. In the back of my mind, I may have had the idea that I would have a martial arts school.
Yeah.
But the martial arts that I was doing, most of it up until I got to jiu-jitsu, and even at the beginning when I started jiu-jitsu, it wasn't like you didn't think of it as like a way to make money. There's no money. Like a lot of the judo I did was always nonprofit. The organization I'm in, the school I'm training at was a nonprofit.
Yeah.
They never, there was no, you couldn't, wasn't an idea, but things change, obviously, things really change in the art. I guess in the back of my mind, I had been thinking about it, and then when I was retiring from the Marine Corps, it seemed like the time to do it. So I talked to Dala about it, and he said, you should do it. I think you should do a school. But it was like a side hustle.
Yeah.
I was thinking about making money.
Yeah.
One of Dala's black belts, Lloyd Irving, is Dala's first black belt. And he rarely gets credit for this, but he changed the landscape of jiu-jitsu, certainly in America.
How so?
He planted, in my opinion, he planted that seed. He's the one who said, listen, we can make a good living doing this. Look how hard you worked and trained. Look at what you know.
Yeah.
Stop being so laissez-faire about what we are doing and recognize the quality of the product and what we're doing. And He changed the landscape. This is a long time ago. My first time going to a big event as a coach, 2000, no, as a coach, 2011 Pan Championships. I'm waiting for my first student who's doing pans was Christian Banghart. Christian was a white belt. He is a black belt now. He runs Vanguard Gym, one of our other affiliates. He runs Vanguard Gym in Manassas. But Dal and I are sitting together waiting for Chris, like last match of the day, first day white belt match. And a Brazilian guy comes over and has a whole conversation with Dal in Portuguese. He walked away. I looked at Dal. I said, what was that? He said, well, he's asking me, should he be going to Lloyd's seminars? I said, oh, what'd you tell him? He said, I told him he should go. Lloyd knows what he's doing. He's studied a lot. He knows what he's talking about. I said, oh, okay. 2 more guys. And these are guys I could name today, these Brazilians. I could say there was this guy and this guy. They're going to Dala because they didn't really know Lloyd back then.
Okay.
He's just a guy from Maryland.
Okay.
But everybody knows Dala.
Right.
And everybody knows, Dala's like straightforward, simple, honest. He's just a wonderful human being.
Yeah.
And they know if they ask him, he's going to tell them. And I heard him. He said, oh, you should go. True to form, I don't know that he ever went himself, Dala. Because he's like, yeah, I'm not doing... To him, it was a side hustle all the time, But all them guys, they all went to those seminars. This is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it changed the way we collectively thought about what is happening with jiu-jitsu. That's my opinion. They're not the only ones. But there weren't people out there trying to be like, hey, this is how you make a living doing this.
Yeah.
And I was training all those years. I never could imagine that enough people would want to pay money to do this.
Yeah.
To actually, for me not to have another job.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
But it slowly happened. So I retired. I started the team with the intent of having a place to work out with some of my people near my house. I didn't think it would grow to this.
Yeah.
I had a room in the gym. We just put the mats on a couple of days a week.
I love the simplicity of that vision and what it's grown to.
We were just working out together, and the first few guys walked. And Adam was my first student, my manager today.
Yeah.
My first black belt, and he was my first student. He was a teenager. He was there at the first class, kind of ready to go.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier. I was saying, we were almost 16 years ago. It's longer than a lot of marriages, but. It just slowly progressed. There were more people. We were in another sublet space, and then it became apparent that we probably should have our own space. But I was working. So I would go to my Marine Corps
Your
civilian
day job. Yep.
I'd leave from work, come to the school, be at the school, do my jiu-jitsu, go home late. But so then it started to change. Have a website. Then there was social media, which I didn't want to do. And all those things, and it slowly started to almost be a business.
Yeah. And
I think about, I don't know how long into it, but just one day I was oh wait, I think this is a business. This is not my hobby anymore. This is a legit. It became more. And then I wanted to quit my day job.
Yeah.
Which at the time, my wife I came home I think I'm done working for the government. She was like, what? What you talking about? We need money. You know that, right? Let's go do jiu-jitsu. Like, what?
I just want to do jiu-jitsu with my friends.
It was scary.
Yeah,
it was
sure.
super scary. I had been with the government really since I was 17 or 18. My whole military career in the cradle of the Marine Corps, which I loved.
Yeah.
I retired from the uniform and went right back into a Marine Corps building, doing stuff for Marines, with Marines.
Yep.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
But jiu-jitsu took over, and I just thought, I'm going to try it. And it felt like I had packed a parachute and I was going to jump off a building. And I was 99.9% sure I had packed a parachute perfectly. But I had never done it before.
Sure.
And that's what it felt like. Like, okay, I'm going to quit my job. I hope this thing's packed right. Yeah. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
The truth is, I had a pension, I had some other things, so it wasn't as big a risk as it is for some other guys because I had some, income, so to speak. But still, it was scary, and I never fully cracked the code on the business side. If you're in here, it looks like it's like that.
It does appear that way.
I'm really not. I could be a better businessman. I could be.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I don't care.
That.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing something else. I'm doing Gavin and Olivia and what's happening in their lives and how that changes. But more importantly, yesterday's Gavin is Malik. He's a captain in Bahrain, or Mason who works up. Those are yesterday's Gavins. Those guys are young men who make good decisions and contribute. Some of them choose to be military. That's the stuff that fulfills me, not necessarily having more members.
Yeah.
The more members thing, which is a necessity as a business, I try to do some advertising. I try to do those things. I want more people so that I can be more generous with the people I do have. But I'm already getting, for me personally, I already get the things that I want to get from my school.
Yeah.
I need it to be financially successful so we can do what we do.
Yeah.
Not for me. I'm good.
Well, we're certainly grateful for you.
Thank you very much. I'm grateful for you guys. I could spend 10 minutes just talking about your children and my perspective with that whole. But I'm that way with most of them. Now I'm getting older, so I'm not as engaged.
Yeah.
So I don't have the same connection to the kids today, and Adam's building his own way of doing it. But for those, 12, 13 years, like for me, that was like and we started KOA, there were no kids.
Yeah.
I don't want kids.
Yeah.
I don't want a kids program. Like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
About to train Marines.
Yeah.
An operator, that's what I'm doing. Then we started kids kind of like for my daughter. My daughter, she's like, when do I get a class? I'm like, okay. That's how we started Keikis.
Yeah.
My daughter was like, where's my class?
Well, I'm glad you did. Yeah. So our son, Gavin, you mentioned, started when he was 5. And I think you were more involved in the Keikis back then, the 5-year-olds, the young kids. Yeah. But I will always remember when he moved up to the next level. And I used to joke with him, you're going to be 105, teeth falling out with a cane coming into the Keikis because you don't want to move up to the juniors and try something different. He's going to kill me for telling this story, but I always remember you coming in. You knew he was nervous going into his first class as a junior, the next level. And you stayed with him. You're like, you can just roll with me and we'll go over here. We won't even be a part of the class. We'll go in the corner. And I could see you sort of moving him closer and closer into the group. And then, here's somebody, why don't you roll with him? And so just very skillful. And I think that those are probably skills you picked up over the course of your career, right? As a leader, knowing kind of how to read people and how to bring somebody who's a bit nervous to show up on the mat and bring them into the fold. And so I commend you for that, for so many things. But that will always, as a parent, now I'm going to get choked up. As a parent of kids who practice here, I'll always remember that.
For me, that's a fulfilling.
Yeah.
I remember that very clearly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
those things stick with you.
I feel lucky that I got to be in the right, to be part of all that.
Yeah.
And that's a real high payoff in a world that's so crazy and disconnected and all the things that at least feel more unusual societally.
Sure.
To be able to come into a space like this and and connect more than 40 years of age difference. That's crazy that you can connect on the mat and help a little person like that find some part of themselves.
Yeah.
And then sometimes parents get it, sometimes they don't. I know it doesn't matter to me as long as they're bringing them here, but it is nice when
it clicks,
when people see it and appreciate it. It's like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is what we're trying to do. And it aligns to the mission statement, which I spent a lot of time. So I took my military experience, and kind of that is how we crafted I crafted the mission statement for KOA.
Which is what?
The short version is we say we're here to improve people's lives. That's the short version of the mission statement. Every day, that's what I tell the coaches. This is what we're doing. Trying to make people's lives a little bit better. You can't fix everything with anything. The martial arts training is certainly not going to fix it. There are people, for many of us, jiu-jitsu is practically a religion. For many of us. But it's not going to fix things. It has this reputation of fixing. And I'm like, man, trust me, I know some really not great dudes who have great jiu-jitsu. It does not fix.
They don't go here, though.
Doesn't work good. Hopefully not, yeah. But our mission is to improve people's lives through the practice and training of traditional martial arts or traditional martial arts methodology, but focused on modern techniques, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai. But here at KOA, our goal is kids and adults alike to be able to use this as a laboratory to work on yourself and take whatever those lessons are with you off of the mat. And with kids, it's decision-making, resiliency, self-expression. A lot of times they get crammed into a box. And when you're watching jiu-jitsu, it looks like people grappling around or kids messing around. But if you can project mentally to where they are, then you understand it's actually an extreme form of self-expression. They're in utter control of their decisions, behaviors, actions, everything, in a way that almost never do they have that kind of autonomy that they have when they're rolling. And so the goal is to try to help that translate off the mat. Or like in Gavin's case, use lessons like, I don't want to do that and I'm scared. Okay, but there's a method for you to get unscared.
Yeah.
And once you go through that process and method, you realize it wasn't what you were doing on the front end. So now the hope is one day in the future when something's about to happen in his life and that same thing rises, you guys will be able to look at him and go, remember this? Remember how it is now? Let's do that same thing and apply it to this.
So there really is a connection between, it's not just a physical practice. There really is like a body-mind connection with jiu-jitsu. You agree?
100%. And, in the interest of your time, I'll just say yes, but I could get to, quoting books or studies, like how the brain is affected physically.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's other methodologies that could create similar results, but there's probably not any that are as fun or as repetitive safely, like with the law enforcement guys. Man, they could do high-end SWAT entry work and battle each other. They could do that stuff, but it's not sustainable. You can't train like that every day all the time.
Yeah.
Not mentally or physically. But you introduce jiu-jitsu as an example of one environment. You introduce jiu-jitsu, you get all the mental kind of decision-making, training, but an additional level, stress relief, documented. This is not, it feels good to do. We're talking about at the physiological level, hormones and what's happening when you train, all those benefits to jiu-jitsu. So
well, you talked about training kids, families. My husband also practices here. You also train with first responders, and he happens to be one, but you do train specifically with first responders, with military, federal law enforcement, and that does feel like such a natural continuation of your service, helping others who protect other people stay safer themselves. What inspired you to really focus there?
I had no intentions of doing any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a relationships person and that sort of thing. And when I quit my day job to focus on KOA, I had more time. And my first jiu-jitsu professor, Chad, who had a long time been at the FBI, teaching them a long time. I don't remember exactly how it came up, but I think he maybe asked me if I was interested, or I said I would do it, or something happened because he lives way down. He lives down in Fredericksburg. It's a good 45 minutes or something. We're literally right around the corner. And so okay, I'll do that. So I started doing just teaching jiu-jitsu there a little bit, but then over time, Chad and the FBI, they taught me because I was already an instructor inside their wall, so to speak. And I had experience as a Marine. I had fire, I understood. I know their job. I don't know their job, but understood it at least. At the tactical level, I had some experience. And so it just kind of naturally progressed. I used to say all the time, there's probably not a jiu-jitsu guy in the world who doesn't want this job. I mean, man, really? Like,
Yeah.
you're going to go work with the FBI, the hostage rescue on a regular basis
Yeah.
and do jiu-jitsu? Man. But because of Chad and our location and we had the right experience, so that experience started to get professionalized. I already knew jiu-jitsu, but it started to get professionalized. And then the second layer was one of the black belts, one of my black belts here, Eric. Eric was is a longtime Fairfax County police officer. And he's a very, very high-performing police officer. He was a Marine, too. And so Eric and our relationship was born on the mat. I think he came to me, he was already a blue belt. He had trained under Henzo in New York, and then he moved down here to be a police officer at the behest of another friend of his who was a Marine. And so Eric and another KOA black belt, Tim, just got his black belt. They put a lot of effort into putting jiu-jitsu into their police department, into Fairfax County. And along the way, they invited me to do things. Teach here, teach there. They were blue belts. Then they were purple belts. Then, now they're both black belts. Now that program is fully and completely developed. So we were able to connect them with FBI methodologies. And so it just
very organically.
I woke up one day and had, 10 years of like really very legitimate law enforcement training and experience. And they would bring me along too. They take me to the range. So I understand that I did ride-alongs with them, like a lot of things that they did on their side. And it turned me into a professional law enforcement guy, even though other than running a jail in Afghanistan, I don't know too much about it,
Yeah.
So that's kind of how that happened. And it continues today. I was been able to translate some of that stuff to two different guys who worked, my previous manager, Anthony, who went on to become also a firefighter, and Adam. So I did it for a while, and I convinced Chad as the boss of the company, man, trust these young guys. They can do it. I promise. It doesn't have to be me.
Yeah.
We'll get them trained. And they have loved both of them as their instructors.
Yeah.
And so it's just part of KOA's DNA at this point. The first responder between the FBI, some local departments, but particularly Fairfax, but more than anything, we got firefighters in here. We got like every department in here, and junior to senior, and now we're starting to make them. So these young guys come through here, and then the senior guys from the local departments are like,
Hey.
"What are you going to be doing, son?" And so we got more firefighters maybe than anybody.
Yeah.
But let me share a quick story with you.
Yeah.
You can put this in or not if you want to. This just came up maybe yesterday.
Okay.
And it might have been this morning. It occurred to me because you mentioned Brandon training. And he's training. Diego was talking about Brandon's like maybe first open mat. He saw him. I don't know. He was telling a story. And then it occurred to me, he was kind of slow to train.
My husband. Okay.
Do you know why?
Why?
I don't know why. I'm asking.
I don't know.
Right, because Gavin was in it for a while. Yeah.
No, getting involved. My husband was hesitant to start training only because of the risk of injury.
It's a good reason.
Right? Like that can be, it's not that it will be, but it can be career ending, right? For
Yeah,
somebody who's so
absolutely.
physical.
In his life.
So
absolutely.
But I think with our son training, and we've actually talked about this too, with our son and now our daughter who's younger training, almost like you talked about with your sons in the Marine Corps, it's something that you can bond together, right? Like it bonds you together because you're both practicing. It's great. They roll around at home, right? Or they come to practice at the same time. My son on one mat and my daughter on one mat and my husband on the other. And so it's something that they can do together. It is not for me. I'll be honest with you, but I do love to watch them. I love, one of the things that I love, and I really haven't watched my husband practice just because, we leave and anyway, watching my son, especially who is getting older, he's been practicing for almost 5 years now. I see, especially when he competes, the strategy. I see it in his eyes, figuring out his next move. Okay, this isn't working. What am I going to do next? I love it. I love watching. I get such a nervous, excited feeling watching him practice. And I don't know what it is for my husband, what his experience is. So I can't speak for that. But I know he was slow to start just because of the risk to his career. But I do know that he loves it. And actually, and I want to hear your observations too. But another question for you is about first responders and the law enforcement folks that you train, that the unique challenges that they face, especially because my husband's in that group. How does Brazilian Jiu Jitsu help them?
Yeah, this one is a lot easier. After your question, I'm like, I have no idea. I don't know. But this one is
stress relief.
I spent a lot of time
either
working, thinking, studying, talking about this issue, dealing with first responders in here, other places.
Yeah.
Number one reason they should train is their own quality of life.
Yeah.
So it can stress relief, just exactly what you said.
Yeah.
But it's a physiological reality. It's not again, there may be other activities that have the same effect. I don't know, but I do know that the jiu-jitsu itself, and particularly the free will on your side, but an opposing will on the other side, that training creates a clear freedom from yourself, from all the stuff that is going on in your prefrontal cortex, all the talking, all the incessant, whether it's positive or negative, whether you're a narcissist or whether you're on the other end of the spectrum and you don't like yourself, whatever is going on, jiu-jitsu, largely because there's an opposing will. Because sure, you could run and get to a runner's high, but most people can't run like that. It's hard to hit a runner's high.
Yeah.
You could go to the gym and be so focused lifting weights that you're not thinking about it. Most people can't do that. But when you come to jiu-jitsu and there's an opposing will, it's fun, but it's like a hack to focus. It's a hack. You don't have to do anything to focus because someone's trying to choke you. And so it pulls you from whatever's going on in your prefrontal cortex and makes you present.
Yeah.
Completely present. And it may only be for those 30 or 45 minutes. But that presence and relief from what is going on creates resiliency. And so the first reason first responders should train 100% is that, for their own quality of life. And I could go on and on. But the second reason is I generally say decision-making under stress. It's difficult to train that, and they have to do it all the time. I literally had a firefighter this morning, Scott Moore, D.C., because he knows I'm interested in this stuff. So if there's something that meets the criteria, he'll share it with me.
Yeah.
He was just in a fire, very recently, and I don't know exactly, he's like a lieutenant or something, but he had a rookie, and the person made a mistake, and they're actually fighting a fire. And he's explaining it all to me and telling me how he's a black belt now, his regular practice of jiu-jitsu affects his decision-making even in a really stressful environment.
Yeah.
I used to say that's the number one reason. For a long time, I taught number one reason you police officers should train is decision-making under stress. But they always say, every time I'm around police officers, they always say, quality of life, stress. They were saying it.
Yeah.
They said it all the time.
Yeah.
So then I changed and what they say, which the first reason was the quality of life. And then the second reason, decision-making under stress. Third reason are the practical physical benefits. Less important in some cases for firefighters with regard to direct physical confrontation, but equally important as in being able to control your body or potentially controlling your body in a tight space. Controlling your body in a tight space while your breathing is labored and you have to make decisions. Now you're accessing something that is uniquely beneficial to a firefighter.
Yeah.
And then, something with law enforcement, it's about subject control, safer for them. But number one, quality of life. Number two is decision making. And number three is the techniques are actually more beneficial to work than probably whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Whether it's law enforcement or on the firefighter side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway.
I think one of the cool things about training here, we kind of started to talk about this just with my personal experience with my family, but it's watching people transform. And my son was an example of this. Day one, I think he cried maybe through most of the class, the first class. But for someone, an adult, a kid who's nervous to step on the mat, they start showing up a little bit stronger, a little more confident, right? As a coach, what is that experience like for you to see that kind of shift from hesitation to confidence? What runs through your mind when you know that, or when you see that it's clicked for them?
It is the most rewarding thing ever to watch people discover a way, a methodology to be a better version of themselves. My experience, as big as the Marine Corps has been in my life, and as much as I am proud and love all that, my experience as a jiu-jitsu person or whatever, and I don't say this lightly, it dwarfs my experience as a Marine in satisfaction, in some of that is stage of life, maybe in understanding what I think I'm trying to do or that kind of thing. But it's just so rewarding, those experiences. One story, my older son was a Marine. And through some circumstances, his first company commander, after he went through boot camp and the School of Infantry, and then he went to Camp Lejeune, the Czech-Noah Battalion. He went to 2nd Battalion, 8th Marines. His company commander was Martin Thomas, who owns Process Over Prize, the jiu-jitsu school down the street. And they had met here because when he was here as a captain, he was a student here before he had his own school. He now runs the Marine Corps Martial Arts program in its entirety.
Oh, wow.
But he also has a jiu-jitsu school that's not too far from here, down by the courthouse. He was my son's first company commander in the Marine Corps. Somewhat by design. He saw my son on the inbound roster and has told his first sergeant, get that kid. And so my son's introduction to Marine Corps was fantastic. It was someone he'd met here as a teenager on the mat. But this is what's interesting. Martin and I have a lot in common. Both Marines, we have a lot in common, and we are conscious and aware of those connections between the both of us. And my son worked for him for months and months and months. I never heard from him. They were at Lejeune. I never heard from him. First time Martin communicated with me, like, look, here's your son, doing infantry stuff with me. They were doing jiu-jitsu. They were at Yuma Air Station in Arizona, but they had been training in California and doing Lejeune, all this other stuff. And that was like the first time they were going to actually really grapple together. And nobody in the unit knows, like, these guys would grapple together, before he was a Marine. It was the first time it ever crossed Martin's mind to send me a picture of my son as a Marine was when it was a picture of them doing jiu-jitsu together. There are probably a lot of jiu-jitsu Marines who would say, because there's a lot of Marines doing jiu-jitsu today, and that's another podcast maybe, but and I'm real happy about that. I put some personal energy into trying to make that happen. But I think there's a lot of Marines that would say, yes, I love the Marine Corps, but my jiu-jitsu experience is even tighter. Hard to believe that. But I am as close to people that I only know from the mat as people that I served in Afghanistan with, if not closer. It's this trust-based activity. Every time you choke somebody out, and then they tap, and you let go, or you get choked out, and then you're like,
it's a lot of trust with
and
that.
then they let go. That kind of trust, repeated over decades, it's difficult to explain how bonded you feel to those people that you're doing that with. And when you're doing it a long time, you end up with these relationships there. We just watched my professor get his coral belt, 7th degree, and being in that room and watching those guys who have spent their whole lives committed to this particular, martial art. It was really fascinating.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that. So, one thing I've always noticed about the way that you teach is the respect that you have for where this art comes from, and for the people that came before you, right? You don't talk about jujitsu as something that like you own, but it's something that you're responsible in a way for carrying forward, and that feels really intentional. Can you share a little bit about your lineage? And you talked a little bit about this. Tell us what that responsibility means to you, both as a student and as a teacher.
I think of it as being a martial arts traditionalist. Like, I grew up with black belt theater and kung fu movies and all that stuff made an impression on me, and that's what I wanted to do and be when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And all that stuff is embedded in that, the pop culture, if you will, of martial arts is, I was born in 1970, so up through the 80s. And so I grew up that way and was very enamored with those things. And then I went to Okinawa in Japan. I got into judo, which has a clear lineage and a founder and a creator. And I just embraced it more. And I went to college. I was a history major, but really Asian history is my degree if you look at the actual coursework. And so it's just a progression over my life. Like, I like looking at it that way. I enjoy it as a traditionalist view. I'm real into who learned from who and how it happened, and I just enjoy it. I don't have any expectation for other people to feel the same way about their martial arts or jiu-jitsu in particular. I always said some people just want to learn arm locks. Some people just want to do self-defense, which was the early stages of the jiu-jitsu that we're doing with at least with the Gracie lineage. I don't want to get too into all the academic and the stuff that's behind it, but I continue to learn today. There's a couple of really, really good books. There's a gentleman, Robert Drysdale, who did a tremendous amount of research and has written, a couple of books that really have enlightened, I think, a lot of us who spent a lot of time training and learning about lineage. It's like there's a jiu-jitsu school in Fredericksburg here, Darcy O'Leary. I always thought it was like some Japanese thing trying to put itself off as Brazilian Jiu. It was me being ignorant and uneducated. And Drysdale's books lay all that stuff out. Everybody, you don't have to be from, some Gracie lineage or this, that, or it doesn't matter too much. You can be great at jiu-jitsu, I think, anywhere, under anybody. But for me, in my school, in my way, I like that. I like I got my purple belt from Helson, and so that's a clear Gracie lineage. Got my blue belt really from Chad with Dala's approval. My brown and black belts I got from Dala, and I know who his teacher was and his whole story. And I think it's a more fulfilling experience. And I think a lot of people, when they come to martial arts, are looking for that traditionalist view. It's like mob rules. Jiu-jitsu is like the mob, except we're just not doing it. There's a business side. There are people who are ruthlessly business-oriented. But I'm saying the way I'm doing it under Dala, those guys were not doing business. They were a family. There's no business to it. It was like honor, loyalty, respect, making men. They weren't talking about what school had the most revenue. Like, that wasn't even a thing. There's no revenue when there's 6 guys who are going to go fight, this weekend or whatever. I just enjoy that history. I'm really into it. And I view myself like almost, I know Japanese culture. That my degree really is focused a lot on Japan and like that Shogun period. And so you get that guy who works for the emperor, and maybe it's during a period of wars, maybe not, whatever. He retires. He goes back to his community. And this is my paraphrase. Right? Now he's like teaching little kids, like of that class, how to swing their sword. That kind of thing. I think of myself the same way. Like, I served the empire.
Yeah.
Or I have another buddy of mine, really one of the phenomenal jiu-jitsu. He's a head professor at Pentagon MMA in Arlington. Isaac's very esoteric about, we connect on this level about what we're doing. And we will often refer to other jiu-jitsu people as Jedi or Sith. Like, that guy's a Jedi. Definitely a Sith. Real schools, but ill intent.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But so we kind of, it's fun. It's a fun way to exist. I'm a historian. I like it. I enjoy knowing about my lineage. And I feel very responsible to represent Dala, but it's out of it's not respect that he's ever demanded. It's respect that I willfully give. And I've told people, if Dala asks me something, I feel more compelled to respond to that than I do to a 4-star general when I was a Marine.
Yeah.
And it's completely, utterly, totally voluntary.
Yeah.
And he demands none of it.
Yeah.
Not in Dala's case. That's not true in every school and lineage and place. But I cherish that relationship. When I was competing in judo, I wanted to win because I wanted to win. I wanted to win. I wanted to smash other people. And I came to jiu-jitsu and I told Chad, I'm going to learn this from you because you're choking me out, but I'm not competing. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to compete anymore. I'm just here to learn jiu-jitsu. He said, that's cool. I don't care. He's just into fighting anyway, Chad. He likes the fighting part of it, the real, legitimate, old school fighting part. He wasn't so into the competition stuff anyway, so it was a good match. And I did that for a while, but then as I started to like have a role in my school at Helson's, then I started to feel like, I need to represent Helson. I'm in here doing this in the school, then we go to the tournament. We need to show whatever. Eventually I competed a lot more in jiu-jitsu, way more than I ever thought I would. And all of it was because I was trying to, in some way, represent.
Sure.
It wasn't about me.
Yeah.
Winning or losing. Whenever I lose in jiu-jitsu, I'm always like, I'm so sorry. And Dala's always like, come, stop. And I'm the same way because people say it to me now. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I understand. I know how you feel. But really, it doesn't matter. It's not about that or me. But I understand how you feel because I always feel the same way. I don't know what that is. That's that very healthy loyalty given versus loyalty demanded. Earned through a two-way street, mutual respect. And I feel like our lineage, at least under Dala, is how we operate.
Yeah.
Like a family. And it creates respect where maybe there wasn't some in the beginning. You got guys, you've been smashing heads for 20 years. You're like, man, he's a prick. But I respect him. He's still here.
Well, and I imagine, too, as jiu-jitsu continues to evolve here in the U.S., right? Because you mentioned 20 years ago it wasn't the same. That lineage, that history is even more important to preserve and pass on to the future generations.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and because I was having, I went to lunch with Dala just a couple weeks ago and another black belt from our association, Todd, and we went to have lunch not that long ago, and we were having this conversation. We were talking about lineage and all of the stuff that we're talking about now, and I had this thought for the first time, which was, I like all that stuff, but it doesn't matter. I just like jiu-jitsu. And how we got here is maybe less important than I'm making it out to be. So all the reading and studying and all the details, knowing all these things about lineage and who taught who and who did this. But really, if you extrapolate that out, like Drysdale's books, I think back to Jigoro Kano and judo, it's like, okay, I come back to the same thing I started with. I'm just doing the same thing that's been going on for some millennia. This is one of the oldest jobs ever. People think, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I'm an instructor, it's new. Okay, maybe, but...
Or maybe to you, right?
Maybe they had a show, some TV show about like the gladiators. It's like a school. Unfortunately, they're stabbing each other, but it's the same idea. It's like some guy who's there, this is how you do it. And the guy's like, okay, this is how I do it. Like, yeah, it's not so new.
Yeah.
It has some intimate connection with history and men and our inexplainable need to fight each other all the time at every level, from individual to nation, state. We're just fighting all the time.
Yeah.
Man, this has been with us forever.
Yeah.
So I do like teaching it, but I want the students here at KOA to do their own way. And if I'm going to explain and tell you the lineage, and it's on our website, and we talk about it, but I also don't ever want to, like, I would never want to convey to your son that needs to be part of his own process.
Yeah.
Unless he arrived at it on his own.
Sure.
Through his experience on the mat. The most rewarding way for me to, like, teach Gavin about jiu-jitsu lineage would be like when Gavin's like 20 and he's in here at the open mat and he's like, who was Dallas' professor? That would be optimal in my world,
Yeah.
Anyway.
You talk about, you kind of mentioned this, I want to go back to your relationship with competition, because it sounds like it was a little bit back and forth maybe as you progressed, as you evolved personally. So one thing I've always appreciated about you as a coach is that you don't overemphasize competition. It's there, but it's not the center of everything that you do, right? And tell me if I'm wrong here, but I see it more as a way for the students to test themselves, to stay accountable, to keep learning, rather than something to chase just for competition's sake. How has your relationship with competition evolved, both as a student, right, and as a coach?
I don't like competing. And it gives me a lot of anxiety. High school wrestling, I've been competing a lot in my life, and so you come to accept the parts maybe that you don't like. For me, it's about personal growth, personal challenge. When I was doing judo, I really wanted to win. I wanted to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it was just the idea. But even then, I just get so nervous about competing that it's just not an enjoyable experience. But intellectually, I think I'm the kind of person who wants to test herself and wants to try to be better, and competition for me seemed like a way to do it. We just talked about eventually in jiu-jitsu, it became not about the competition, but about representing my professor, instructor, friend in the growing world of competitive jiu-jitsu. And it was always a personal challenge to try to go out there and test yourself a little bit. And in my case, to do something I really don't want to do, like it was about that kind of thing. Today, I really don't like competition. And with my own kids, they competed very little. And maybe I should have had them compete more, I don't know. But I never wanted, especially with kids, and the number one reason that I'm not a fan of it with kids is because I don't want any of our students to confuse success in competition with success in jiu-jitsu. And a kid who might not be great at competition and does bad might process that as, jiu-jitsu is not for me, or I'm not good at it, or whatever. So I like to really keep them separate, because to me, the competition is an aspect, but it's not the most valuable thing, maybe, for most people.
Yeah.
So my approach is that competition is for some people, and some people's pathway in jiu-jitsu is a competitive pathway. That's their way to get the most out of jiu-jitsu for them. But it's not for everybody. And as you said here at KOA, some schools really emphasize it a lot. And they say the work is behind the medals. The medals are just representative of the value system that is behind them. And that is true, absolutely true. But there's pressure there that some people might not respond to, or who might not get everything they could get from jiu-jitsu. I don't like it, but we support it a lot, but we just don't, it's just separate. We don't push it on the population, and it becomes apparent. Parents come, we do our in-house tournament, We do it here, expose the kids and say if you're interested, and to try and make a positive experience.
Yeah.
The other thing is today in jiu-jitsu, the sport is really taking over the martial tradition, and I've seen this in a few places, but you see a lot of even like young people over the top celebrations, beating the chest. Like, man, for me, you're taking it too serious. And who is teaching these kids that?
Yeah.
Who's teaching them that? What are we doing? I also say you get to do jiu-jitsu how you want to do it. It's one of the nice things about being in an art that's not codified. So I don't want to be in a position to look at someone else and say, man, don't teach your kids how to do X, Y, and Z. But here, I'm not teaching. That's not what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so the competition, before I want a family or kids, especially kids to get involved, I want it to be clear. Like, what are we doing? Why? Why are you doing this? And do you understand that this environment you're going to go to is not necessarily just jiu-jitsu? It's a sport. And if you're able to make that distinction and still keep your jiu-jitsu experience healthy, great. But there are a number of people I've seen over the years, I'll tell them, man, I'm just not sure that competing is as good for you as you think it is
Yeah.
based on these outcomes. Look how you feel. Why?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm real mixed on it. I view it as a necessary part of the jiu-jitsu universe for sure. We wouldn't be where we are today without it. And I'm thankful for the percentage of us that are really into it and compete and carry the art along and keep it validated by competing with each other in a real environment. But as long as we are at the helm, then everybody on the ship doesn't necessarily have to follow that same pathway to their best jiu-jitsu. It's just like society. Everybody doesn't serve. Some people serve. Some people want to get in a fight. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And
I love that you say it's up to you. Like, it's a very individual pathway. It's your path. It's your journey, right, with jiu-jitsu.
that's how we want it here. Some schools might not feel that way. But that's how I feel about it.
I love it.
Yeah.
When you think about the legacy that you'll leave behind, right? We talked about the lineage. You're part of that, right? What do you hope that people will take with them from you and from their experience at KOA?
I don't know exactly, but I think what I want the most for our team is for this team to exist much like it is right now when I'm not here.
Yeah.
Whatever my next chapter might be, I would like to see Adam and Sean. I would like to see this place continue. I'm sure it'll be something different, but maybe with the same mission. I think that would be the most satisfying legacy for me, is to see my own students or people who learn from me, is a more comfortable way of saying it, have their own schools. I have 25 black belts today. I won't have a whole lot more. I don't think there'll be another 10. I'm not sure. But because most of these students are here today, like they'll get their black, like if Gavin stays till he's a black, he'll get his black belt from Adam or Sean. It won't probably be Matt. Hopefully I'll be in the room. But that's what I would like to know, that I held my place and conveyed the art in my vision to people who appreciate it, mutually, and that it keeps going,
Yeah.
not necessarily growing, but going. I'm mixed on the growth thing.
Yeah.
I used to want everybody should do jiu-jitsu. Now I'm kind of like, I liked it better when it was smaller. But
continuing that mission of improving people's lives.
yeah, that would be the most satisfying thing for me, would be able to walk away from KOA, like walk away clean,
Yeah.
and it be doing what we're doing today
Yeah.
without me.
Yeah.
That would be
That's the dream.
incredibly satisfying.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm that way anyway, but I always thought in the Marine Corps, being a good leader or something like that is you train your replacement. In the Marine Corps, we definitely want to have an environment where if you are suddenly gone, the unit doesn't fail
Right.
or fold. That's a leadership model that the Marine Corps tries to operate on. Create your replacement, and I think that's been the model for KOA. You're trying to make everybody better and the unit better, and also at the same time actively working to train and create your own replacements.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So that stayed with you. We talked about a lot today. There's
So
probably a
sorry.
lot more that we could have talked about.
Yeah.
I think we could probably have a whole series of episodes, whether it was, your military background, your experience here with jiu-jitsu, a number of things. But I want to say that I really appreciate your time. I'm humbled to be sitting here with you and have this
Thank you.
conversation.
That's very nice of you.
Where can people go to learn more about you and what you're doing and about KOA?
Well, our website is staffordbjj.com. That's for really people who are in the school or in the area. And then we do try a little bit to export some of our culture in the social media world. Try not to overdo it. I don't want people to watch jiu-jitsu. I want people to do jiu-jitsu. But we do try to, keep our Instagram, which is at KOA Team BJJ, is the Instagram for the school. And that's the best way to kind of connect and see what we're doing. And if you're, if you're a Stafford person or if you're around here, then we want you to come and check it out.
Check it out.
Try and train here.
Stop and get some coffee at the grounds while you're at it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Coach Kelly. This has been an amazing conversation. I'm so thankful to you for sitting down with me.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time too. And Tony, who's over here behind the camera, who volunteered to help us step it up a little bit. Thank
Shout
you
out
very
to
much,
Tony.
Tony. Yeah, thank you for helping us. TR Media Solutions, also on Instagram. He's doing a lot of step-up work now too. So anyway, thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Careers and Coffee Talk. Big thanks to today's guests for pouring out so many great insights. And hey, thanks to you for hanging out with us. If this episode gave you a little jolt of inspiration or made your day a bit more brewed and balanced, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Got a minute? Drop me a 5-star review. It's basically the podcast equivalent of buying me a fancy oat milk latte. Quick disclaimer though, the views expressed in this episode are personal and do not reflect those of any organization. Anyway, until next time, stay curious, stay caffeinated, and keep chasing the career that makes you feel the most alive. Catch you next time.